Deep in the unforgiving Brazilian Amazon, Ana and her buddy Paulo are parked in the middle of nowhere, glued to a map. Their route is a literal death wish. They have to drive deep into the untamed jungle just to reach a river getaway boat. Paulo is already panicking. He practically begs Ana to turn back, warning her that this jungle swallows people whole. But Ana isn't having it. She insists the massive payoff is worth the risk. Suddenly, a heavy thump echoes from the roof of their car. They freeze, bracing for a vicious predator, but when they peek out, it's just a harmless little monkey. Despite the false alarm, Paulo's nerves are completely shot, and he flat out refuses to go any further. Fed up, Ana ditches him, hops onto a nearby motorcycle, and speeds off into the wild. Not a moment too soon, either. A guy named Joe and his partner spot her escaping and immediately sprint to their boat to hunt her down. But before they can even start the engine, a colossal anaconda erupts from the water, snatches Joe's partner in its massive jaws, and drags him into the murky depths. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in sunny California, a guy named Doug is passionately pitching a terrifying jungle thriller. The catch? He's pitching it to the bride and groom who just hired him to film their wedding. It turns out Doug is a highly frustrated wedding videographer, desperately dreaming of becoming a Hollywood director, but his career is completely dead in the water. Cut to a bustling movie set, where a struggling actor named Griff is hyping himself up. He's only got a tiny role as a nurse, but he's convinced this is his big break. Unfortunately, his nerves totally ruin it. He botches his lines over and over until the director fires him on the spot. Dejected, Griff walks off the lot and passes a row of billboards. One catches his eye, an ad for a classic 90s monster movie about a giant snake, Anaconda. Right then, he gets a voicemail from Doug, his childhood best friend. Doug mentions he just ran into Griff's mom and tells him how insanely proud he is of Griff's new movie role. Too embarrassed by his fresh firing, Griff decides to keep the bad news entirely to himself. Back at his day job, Doug is typing away on a script when his boss violently barges in. The boss knows weddings aren't Doug's passion, but he aggressively pressures him to wake up and face reality. He reveals he's retiring soon, plans to hand the whole business over to Doug, and demands he drop the Hollywood pipe dream for good. Crushed, Doug stays completely silent. Later that evening, Doug comes home to his wife, Mally. The second he walks through the door, he's hit with a massive surprise party. Mally and their son Charlie have gathered all his neighbors and friends for his birthday. Doug is thrilled to see his buddy Kenny, who hands him a quirky gift basket of toiletries. He's even happier to see his friend Claire. But the absolute highlight of the night is when Griff walks through the door, officially reuniting the childhood crew. To celebrate, Griff plays an old home movie they shot as kids, directed by a young Doug. In the grainy footage, the kids are pretending to fight off a terrifying monster. The room fills with laughter as they relive their absolute glory days. The very next day, the crew meets up at a local diner, bonding over their mutual obsession with the original Anaconda movie. That's when the plot thickens. Griff drops a massive bombshell. He claims he met the widow of the film's original writer and actually bought the rights to the story. He pitches a completely unhinged idea. They should travel to the Amazon and shoot their own indie remake. Claire and Griff will star, Kenny will film, and Doug will direct. Everyone is instantly on board, except Doug. He pulls Griff aside, explaining he's a family man now and can't risk his steady paycheck. But Griff hits him with a harsh reality check, reminding him that they've all been settling for less. Doug goes home, completely torn. He confesses the crazy plan to his wife, expecting her to shut it down. Instead, Mally fiercely encourages him to go out and finally achieve his dream. Fired up, Doug hops into his car, speeds over to Griff's place, and says he's in. That exact same night, he bangs out the entire first draft of the script. The next morning, Doug briefs the team. They need about $2 million for a 3-week shoot in Brazil, boat rentals, and camera gear. He also drops another wild detail. They're going to rent a live snake for maximum realism. The group rushes to the bank for a business loan, but the bank practically laughs them out the door, offering only a fraction of what they asked for. Forced to improvise, Doug aggressively slashes the budget down to a measly $43,000. He presents the final script, and the team loves it. The following day, as Doug packs for Brazil, his son Charlie hands him a small plastic Oscar trophy, wishing him the best of luck. The crew boards a flight to the Amazon. The second they land, Doug geeks out, explaining how anacondas are ultimate stealth killers. They stay frozen like statues until their prey gets close, then strike with lightning speed, crushing the life out of them. Suddenly, they are greeted by Carlos, a local snake handler. Carlos immediately sets a dark tone by telling a horrifying story about his own grandmother who was eaten alive by an anaconda. He then introduces the snake he's renting them, explaining he rescued it from a toxic river polluted by illegal gold mining, a massive crisis wiping out the local wildlife. Carlos promises his snake is completely harmless to humans, but he sternly warns the crew to stay on high alert because the deep jungle is swarming with massive wild anacondas that can rip a person apart in seconds. Meanwhile, Anna is hiding out in a dingy portside diner, dodging Joe's relentless manhunt. Spotting a passed-out drunk nearby, she stealthily swipes his boat keys. She sneaks down to the docks, only to realize the boat she's stealing is the exact same one Doug and his friends just chartered. Thinking fast, she lies her way onto the crew. She claims she's the owner's daughter, says her dad suddenly fell ill, and insists she has to captain the boat right now. Doug panics, begging her to let them stay on board since every other boat is booked. Seeing Joe patrolling the docks, Anna relents. She tells them to get in, fires up the engine, and floors it down the river. Back at the docks, Joe interrogates a security guard, aggressively demanding the logs for every boat that left the harbor. That night, the crew enjoys a lively dinner on the boat, totally pumped for the shoot. The next morning, it's action time. Claire plays a vengeful biologist hunting the snake that killed her family, while Griff plays her rugged tracker. With Carlos keeping the captive snake calm, Kenny gets an incredible shot of the anaconda silently stalking its prey. As the cameras roll, the chemistry between Griff and Claire is absolutely undeniable. It turns out they used to date, and the old spark is definitely back. Over dinner, the crew excitedly maps out their stunts before heading to bed. But down in the cargo hold, their harmless snake quietly slithers out of its enclosure. It glides through the boat and sneaks straight into Griff's cabin, rearing up right beside his bed. Griff wakes up, locks eyes with the beast, and screams his lungs out. The entire boat wakes up in sheer panic. The crew fiercely scolds Carlos, who promises it will never happen again. The following day, tensions are sky high as they prepare for the movie's most dangerous stunt. Carlos carries the massive snake over to Griff, who is absolutely terrified and refuses to do the take. Doug steps in, hyping him up. Griff swallows his fear, but the second the director yells action, the snake opens its massive jaws. Griff completely loses his mind, violently hurls the snake overboard, and watches in horror as it lands directly inside the boat's spinning propeller. The snake is instantly shredded to pieces. Carlos is utterly devastated and holds a heartbreaking funeral for his pet that night. Unbeknownst to the crew, one of Joe's heavily armed mercenaries has tracked them down. He spies on the boat from the riverbank, but before he can radio in, a monstrous wild anaconda bursts from the water and swallows him whole. Back on deck, Griff sits down with a mourning Carlos, apologizing profusely and explaining his desperate need for this movie to succeed. Deeply moved, Carlos forgives him and promises to trek into the deep jungle to catch a wild snake and save their movie. Overjoyed, Griff insists on coming along. The two men wade into a murky jungle swamp. Almost immediately, the creepy vibe gets to Griff. He begs Carlos to turn back, but the seasoned handler pushes deeper into the water. Griff chickens out, leaving Carlos to hunt alone. Suddenly, the water ripples. The giant anaconda rises, wraps its thick coils around Carlos, and violently pulls him under. Griff runs back to the boat, out of breath, telling Doug that Carlos got lost. Doug assumes the local expert will find his way back, but after an hour passes, the crew starts to panic. Doug, Griff, and Anna grab flashlights and head into the dark woods. They stumble upon an abandoned jeep and jump inside to cover more ground. Suddenly, a massive thud rocks the vehicle. The anaconda has just slammed Carlos's lifeless body onto their windshield. The gigantic beast looms over the car before silently slithering back into the shadows. Terrified, they try to peel out, but the Jeep's battery is completely dead. Doug bravely creeps out to fix it, lifting the hood with agonizing slowness. He manages to connect the cables, but out of nowhere, the anaconda strikes. Doug barely dodges the massive jaws, throws himself into the passenger seat, and Griff floors the gas pedal. Just as they escape the beast, Joe's gang of mercenaries spots them and gives chase on dirt bikes. Doug suggests pulling over for help, but Anna violently shoots the idea down, revealing the men are actually a ruthless syndicate of illegal gold miners. Reaching into the back seat, Anna pulls out a hidden sniper rifle. With cold, absolute precision, she leans out the window and picks off Joe's men one by one. They screech to a halt at the docks and sprint for the boat, only to find Joe waiting for them with a loaded gun. He demands to know where Anna is. The crew turns around in confusion. She was just behind them. Suddenly, Anna materializes behind Joe, pistol whipping him across the back of the head. As Joe crumbles, the crew scrambles aboard and takes off. Anna takes the wheel and promises to get them to an airport, but warns it will be a grueling 23-hour ride upriver. Griff stubbornly argues they should stay and finish the movie, but Doug shuts him down, terrified the monster snake will hunt them down. That night, alone in his cabin, Doug looks at the plastic Oscar from his son. A massive wave of determination hits him. By morning, he's rewritten the entire script. He pitches a fresh angle. They are going to write Anna's character into the movie and make it an action thriller about illegal gold miners. The team loves the pivot and gets back to work. However, Griff and Claire soon notice Doug is obsessing over Anna's scenes, even banishing them to the sidelines for an entire day. That evening, Griff vents his frustrations to Claire, admitting his jealousy over her successful career. Claire drops her guard and confesses her personal life is actually a total disaster. Bonding over their shared failures, the two realize they are still deeply in love. The next morning, Griff fiercely confronts Doug about sidelining the cast. Right in the middle of their screaming match, a colossal luxury yacht cruises past them, crawling with A-list Hollywood celebrities and massive cameras. Doug asks a passing crew member what they're doing, and the answer shatters them. They are filming the official Hollywood reboot of Anaconda. Doug turns to Griff, demanding the truth about the rights. Cornered, Griff admits he made the whole thing up just to get them all out here. Doug absolutely loses it and violently kicks Griff off the production. Humiliated, Griff packs his bags, lowers a small dinghy into the water, and prepares to leave. Claire rushes to the deck, desperately begging him to stay, but Griff points to the massive studio yacht. He's going to hitch a ride back to America. A little while later, Griff is deeply shocked to find the studio ship completely destroyed. On the muddy riverbank, a female crew member is screaming for help. Griff paddles over to rescue her, but before she can reach his boat, the giant anaconda erupts from the water and devours her. Paralyzed with fear, Griff violently rows back the way he came. Meanwhile, Doug tells Claire that Anna has found a sick new location to shoot the climax, but Claire is sick with worry over Griff and demands they go look for him. Suddenly, things go completely south. Anna pulls her gun on the crew, taking them hostage. She forces them off the boat and marches them deep into a hidden mining camp, commanding them to carry heavy duffel bags stuffed with raw gold. Just then, Joe bursts from the tree line, his gun trained perfectly on Anna. The massive plot twist is finally revealed. Joe isn't a criminal. He's an undercover cop trying to stop Anna. In the middle of the standoff, Griff bursts through the brush. Seeing a man aiming a gun at his friends, Griff raises his weapon and blasts Joe right in the leg. As they drag the gold back to the boat, Griff is horrified to learn Joe is actually a cop. To tie up loose ends, Anna turns her weapon on the crew. Bleeding on the ground, Joe tries to intervene, but Anna executes him without a second thought. As Anna aims at Doug, Claire drops to her knees, begging, then lunges forward, violently wrestling the gun away. Without warning, the massive anaconda lunges from the water, clamps its jaws around Anna, and drags her down into the abyss. Panic explodes. The crew sprints frantically toward the boat, but the snake cuts them off, lunges forward, and swallows Doug whole. The survivors are paralyzed with shock. With their best friend gone, they have no choice but to retreat. As they trudge through the mud, Griff is utterly crushed by guilt, sobbing that his lie got Doug killed. Claire fiercely tells him it's not his fault, and they just need to survive. Just as they reach a clearing, they stumble upon a horrifying sight, Doug's lifeless body lying next to a dead wild pig. Desperate, they come up with a highly unhinged plan. They pin Doug's corpse to the ground and strap the dead pig to his back as bait. They hide in the tall grass. Suddenly, Doug blinks and stands up. He's alive! The crew silently celebrates, but the joy is cut short. The giant anaconda is creeping up right behind him. They scream for him to run. Doug bolts in pure terror. In a stroke of insane luck, the snake lunges and swallows the dead pig right off his head, buying Doug enough time to regroup with his friends and sprint away. Under the cover of darkness, the exhausted survivors stumble into the ruined Hollywood base camp. Griff finds a functional walkie-talkie and broadcasts a distress signal. A voice crackles back, screaming that the snake is right behind them. They spin around, and there it is. Just as the beast lunges, an unseen shooter unloads a barrage of gunfire, forcing the monster to retreat. Out of the shadows steps their savior, Ice Cube, the legendary star of the original 90s Anaconda. The crew is totally starstruck. Ice Cube shuttles them to a safe hiding spot, explaining the perimeter is rigged with pyrotechnics, but the snake destroyed the detonators. He hands them a flare gun, says he has to go rescue Jennifer Lopez, and snaps a quick selfie with the crew before vanishing into the night. Armed with the flare gun, Doug and Griff realize this is their moment. They formulate a master plan. Doug and Griff will act as live bait in a car, while Kenny and Claire turn on all the remaining spotlights and cameras to shoot the final scene for real. Griff screams from the car window to attract the snake. The giant anaconda bursts through the trees, chasing them down. Doug floors the gas pedal to the blast zone and triggers the bombs. The massive explosions go off, but they have absolutely no effect on the anaconda. Thinking fast, Griff steps out, aims the flare gun at a nearby gas tank and pulls the trigger. The catastrophic explosion blows the monster to pieces, but horrifyingly, the snake's severed head is still moving. Doug charges forward, pulls out the plastic Oscar his son gave him, and brutally stabs the monster through the head, ending the nightmare for good. Sometime later, the movie premieres at a film festival, and Doug and his friends receive the massive recognition they always dreamed of. Even better, Jennifer Lopez herself visits Doug at his home, completely blown away by his movie, and offers him the director's chair for the next official Anaconda film. The sheer shock is too much. Doug passes out cold from pure joy. In a final twist, we cut back to the jungle. Carlos, the snake handler, wakes up from his coma, a massive grin spreading across his face as he realizes he survived. That's it for today's story. If you enjoyed the recap, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.